have no letters to turn.
Hi, Martine. Thank you for having the grappler.
Thank you. I'm super excited.
Yes. Should we start with the questions?
Yes.
All right. Question 1. As you stepped into this new role, what makes you happiest these days?
Whoa, that's a good one. To be honest, I think what makes me the happiest right now is just getting to meet everyone. There's so many amazing humans in this building and amazing artists in this building, and everyone's just been really open and gracious, and yeah, that makes me super happy.
Oh my goodness, that's so fun to hear. And what makes you most excited as you step into this role?
Oh, what makes me excited? Well, one of the things that's always going to make me excited, and it's the reason why I've stayed in higher ed as long as I've stayed in higher ed, is that I am so excited about helping to educate and prepare the next generation of theater artists to do bigger and better things than my generation has done. And so I think just the idea of the potential that I see in students like you makes me happy.
Yeah. And what drew you exactly to the theater school?
Oh, that's fun. Okay, so, and you just noticed I'm going to answer a lot of these questions. Oh, that's a good one. The dramaturg in me approves these questions. I think what drew me really to the theater school, first and foremost, is that in my career as a dramaturg and as a director, mostly dramaturg, I can't really seem to work anywhere without running into DePaul grads and DePaul faculty and staff. And so obviously something exciting must be going on here if I'm in rooms all over the country and I am encountering amazing artists every time.
Nice. And what was your first interaction like with students at the theater school?
Oh, it was weird, mostly because I interviewed during COVID times, and the Omicron outbreak had just sort of happened right as I was supposed to come visit. And so all of my first interactions were with students were online over Zoom. And, you know, it was good in that I got a chance to have some really great conversations, but I'm going to own that I'm a pretty empathetic human, and I tend to read bodies quite a bit when I'm talking to folk. And so it was a little weird to just basically have like this, or like here up, and trying to relate to people. But I also had some really great conversations, and all the students that I met were lovely and really insightful and had great questions for me. So, yeah.
And when you were in college, what did you love about it?
Oh, good. What did I love about college? Well, one, I think I just love to learn. And especially, I went to a small liberal arts college that had lots of really interesting and weirdly niche classes. Like, my favorite class that I had was on witchcraft.
That sounds fun.
Right? And it was like basically the history of witchcraft, and like, you know, sort of got into things like the performance of witchcraft on like both like a religious level, but then also in terms of thinking about like how it's been represented in popular culture. And so that's fun and feeds my secret love of the older version of Charmed.
And was there anything that you hated about it?
Hated about undergrad. We're talking about undergrad, right?
I think that's open to your interpretation, but if you want to, you can keep it at undergrad.
Yeah, we'll keep it undergrad just because, like, yeah, I could basically verbal vomit a dissertation about things I didn't like about grad school. Oh, but don't. Actually, I should take that back. I loved where I got my master's degree. PhD, questionable. But anyway, I think what I disliked about undergrad. To be honest, I don't know if there's anything I really disliked about it, because to me it was all about potential and the seeding of potential. And so I think I feel like I left undergrad with like this sort of ginormous sense of like what the world could be for me. Well, yeah, but I can tell you that what I did not like about like my time in my PhD program was like, we're just gonna be 100 on this one. It was just like the straight up racism. That was too much for my poor little body, trying to like just get my little dissertation done and get that PhD. It was a lot. It was a lot. It was a lot.
And do you have any advice that you give to your 18-year-old self?
Advice? Stay the course. Eventually it's going to feel really hard, but the reward on the other side, totally worth it.
Nice. And going back, who was the first person you called after getting the job as the dean?
Oh, I totally hope my spouse doesn't see that. I call my mom first. Call my mom. And then I call my husband. Oh, but you gotta call your mom first. You gotta call your mom. You gotta call mom. But yeah, I hope Shane never sees this. Should we take a walk? Yeah, so welcome to Halloween Town, by the way. You're gonna find that the dean's office is gonna be kind of hilarious with all the holidays coming up. So yeah.
Very festive.
Yeah.
Is there anything you wished you knew before becoming dean?
Wish I knew. Do you mean, sorry, I'm gonna ask a clarifying question. I just, like dean generally or dean here?
Dean here.
Okay, wish I knew before becoming dean here. This is gonna sound super trite, but I wish somebody had told me about like how ridiculous it is to park around here. That would have made my first day a whole lot easier.
Very fair.
Come with me.
And is there one thing or a few things that you always have to bring to you with work?
Bring with me to work: water bottle, coffee, lipstick, and a sassy pair of glasses.
Love that. Did you ever see yourself working in education?
Oh, totally. Yeah. Like, basically, pretty much from when I've been in my master's degree program, what happened is I kind of created the slogan for myself that I was going to be professor by day and a dramaturg by night. Who would have known that really what it truly meant was that I was going to be a professor and a dramaturg day and night.
Great. And do you have any advice for someone who wants to become a leader in an educational institution?
Ask lots of questions. I think the thing that's the hardest about being in leadership right now is that the face of education is just changing on a regular basis. And so, don't be afraid to ask questions about how things work.
Okay. And on the other end of questions, is there any piece of advice you have completely ignored?
Well, I mean, if you want to be 100, the other thing that happened is when I was, part of the reason why my PhD program was such a hard time is because I had professors who actively said things to me like, you're never going to make it as an educator, and so you should probably just like drop out of school now. Hi! And so I definitely ignored that advice.
Yeah, I think that's a good advice to ignore.
And maybe the lesson is that, like, not that your professors won't be great guides in terms of telling you, like, and helping you figure out what your future is going to look like, but I think it's also okay to, like, to say that you're allowed to make your own path.
Yeah.
And that they don't always know everything.
And what do you want to be known for?
Known for? Here?
In life?
That I always did right by people. That's my answer.
Very admirable.
I love how my one of my besties is calling right now. But and Ken, if you ever see this, I see this, and I promise I'll call you back in a minute.
Another question: who would you say was your role model growing up?
My grandma. And part of the reason why is that my grandmother is an amazingly smart human, and just a great human. And, she definitely lived a life that the 1930s and 40s, like the 20s, 30s, and 40s, like affords a Black woman at that time, and made a beautiful life and made a beautiful family. And, basically was the one that told me I can do anything I want to do. Was always supportive. It wasn't until I was a lot older that I realized, for example, that like she did a lot of those things, a lot of things for me and for my siblings. In some ways, as a did you want to come? You can just come out there. Things have to happen.
A little candid. I'm on my way to work.
Exactly, a little cameo. I think I learned from her, or a lot later on, that she provided a lot of opportunities for me and my siblings, like at her own expense. And so I spent a lot of my adult years before she passed away trying to make sure that like I, in some ways, did the best I could to be an amazing human to her, to like sort of hopefully offset some of all the sacrifices she made for me.
Well, the next question was, has that role model changed? But I think I'll
We'll leave it there. We'll totally leave it there.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that there.
All the way.
I think that answered that question. So then the next question is, when was the first time you felt successful?
Ooh! I'm so sorry. These questions are cracking me up. The first time I felt successful. That's a really interesting question because I guess, you know, the dramaturg in me wants to like think about how do I define success. Well, I'll go with an answer that I gave someone earlier today around a similar question. I think the first time that my undergraduate institution invited me back to do a lecture, I was like, okay, I've done something with myself if they think I'm important enough to come back and talk to the students.
Okay. So I'm sure you spent a lot of time here at TTS. You've probably gotten accustomed to the parking garage. Is there any other favorite spots on campus?
Favorite spots on campus? You probably may have seen it when we were in there, but my little balcony. Because I can get, you know, being on the 5th floor, I can get some quick air without having to go all the way downstairs, go outside, come back, and go all the way back upstairs. So, favorite place.
And then, what's the best part about living in Chicago?
All the art scene. You know, so just prior to being here, I was at UNCSA and Winston-Salem, which has an art scene, but a very different art scene. It's not really a theater art scene, it's just an arts scene, and actually probably more leans towards the visual arts, which is great. You know, I'm also a visual artist myself, but it's nice being back in a community that has a lot of theater and a lot of performance to go to.
And again,
and the food.
That's another important one. What was it like moving to Chicago then?
Well, it was a little easy for me. One, just because I have a lot of, I did a lot of work in Chicago just like prior to the pandemic and getting here. And so I have a lot of friends and colleagues already here. But then I also have family here. Like most people don't know that I actually, all of my stepdad's family's here. So my stepbrother's here, like my niece, my nephew, all those folk are here. You can come on through or keep it for just, we'll go that way. We'll go that way so we can get out of the way. Exactly.
I don't want to shy. And then, what other cities have you worked in?
Oh, so Winston-Salem. Do you mean as like a theater artist or as an educator or both?
Both.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
So sorry, y'all, but I'm about to walk right in the middle of the We'll go that way. It'll be fun. We'll walk in circles. So I've worked in Winston-Salem. I've worked in the Hudson Valley, New York. I've worked in Salt Lake City. I've worked in obviously Chicago. Where else have I worked? Ashland, like at the Oregon Shakespeare Festival. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting some stuff. We'll leave it at that.
And maybe this will be putting you on the spot a bit, but which city have you enjoyed working in the most?
That's a good one. This answer is actually going to surprise me a little bit, but I think actually Salt Lake City. And part of the reason why is that, like, if you like being outside, like, Salt Lake City is just a beautiful, beautiful city. And I always found, like, when you find, like, the thing that's weird about Salt Lake City is that the theater community specifically is kind of, for lack of better terminology, a little segregated in terms of the kinds of theater that it makes. But if you find your group, like, you'll have, like, some of the best friends you'll ever make in your entire life. So, yeah, we'll go with that.
And is there any other city that you've always wanted to live in?
Always wanted to live hard because I've actually like lived in a lot of places. I also forgot Houston, so I've basically lived in most geographical areas of this country. You know, can I forgot about DC. Maybe what I want to say is maybe I'd go back to DC.
Yeah. And clearly you worked at a lot of places. So what does home mean to you?
What does home mean to me? It's the place where I feel like I can just be. So I'm going to own that one of the things that most people may or may not know about me or figure out very eventually about me is that I'm a raging introvert masquerading as an extrovert. And so to me, if I can like go home and find quiet and peace, basically anywhere where my dogs are, my spouse are, and my plants, I'm good.
And then is there any tradition that you absolutely love?
Tradition. That's a really interesting question. I feel like, I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Tradition I like the act of preparing meals. And so any tradition that requires like making meals at family gatherings are kind of my thing. So that's why I'm kind of, what I was kind of alluding to with all the decorations and things, we are headed into my season because it was like Thanksgiving and because of, you know, like Christmas and like all those moments where you just gather with a lot of folk and make a lot of food. And 9 times out of 10, because of the raging introvert, like my gatherings tend to be smaller, but I find so much joy in making food, especially for others. Like food is my love language.
I love that. Again, you kind of answered our next question. Was do you have any pets? But would you care to gush about them?
Yeah.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I have 2 Chihuahuas. One is a chug, which is a Chihuahua pug mix named Moira. And then I have another Chihuahua. She's a Chihuahua Dachshund mix, and her name is Chloe. And they're older. Chloe's 16, and Moira is 12, and they're my absolute joys. Like, they're just my absolute joys. Like, I get yelled at by my chug when I come home if I come home too late. So I'm pretty sure I'll get home tonight and I'll get yelled at because I'm gonna go see Small Mouth Sounds tonight. So I'll get yelled at when I get home because she wants her snuggle time with Mama. And you know, usually Chloe's actually really quiet, but she loves snuggle time with Mama too. So what'll happen is she'll come up and do that weird Chihuahua thing that's almost cat-like, where they'll like brush up against you, wanting you to pick her up. And I'll pick her up and we'll just like hang out for a bit and be.
That's so cute. Switching pages, what is your zodiac sign?
Oh, well, technically I'm a Capricorn, but really actually a Sagitarian. And like birthday is December 23rd, but like all of the like in terms of timing, all that stuff. Like I feel like I have the personality of a Sagittarius, but the work ethic of a Capricorn. But then sometimes my Capricorn can really come out. Are you a Capricorn?
Yes, I am.
Wait, when's your birthday?
January 17th.
Yay.
So right on the edge of Aquarius.
Yeah, yep. You're a Aquaricorn?
Yeah, there you go.
What is a Caprius?
Yes, Capricarius?
There we go.
And then is there anything else that you really identify with being a Capricorn?
You know, definitely the bad knees. As I get older, yep, the bad knees. That I associate with being a Capricorn. You know, I think the thing that's always going to be a blessing and a curse is like the addiction to data and to logic. Yeah. Oh no, you're totally fine. This is what happens when you walk around the building. You're gonna. Hopefully, you will run into people.
And then also, what is your Enneagram type?
Wait, what?
Enneagram.
What is that?
It was one of our questions. It's,
I have no idea what that even is. I don't have my phone to Google
Yeah,
it.
you should take the quiz. That's a new
it's
task.
numbered 1 through 9, and then there's different.
See, now I need to like. So the answer is I have no idea, but now I need to do this. So I'll report back.
All right, sounds great. Daily routine a bit. What is the first thing you thought of this morning?
The first thing I thought of that I want to go back to sleep for 5 more minutes. I usually get up at 5 in the morning, and so yeah, it's always a thing where I have to like the alarm goes off. I like hit the snooze button to try and keep from waking up my spouse and my dogs, and then I lay there and decide, try to contemplate all the bad life decisions I've made that have led me to the point where I'm getting up at 5 in the morning, and then like, and then I'm like, okay, we can do this. Let's get up.
And then, is there something you do every day without fail?
Something that I do every day without fail. Well, I mean, besides shower, without fail. There's something to me always about having like a hot beverage of some sort at the outset of the morning. So usually it's either a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I don't feel like a whole human until I've done one of those things. And it's not even about like the caffeine. I think it's just about having something warm in my body that just sort of like charges my senses and my soul.
Yeah. Would you say that's what gets you out of the bed in the morning, or is there something else?
The excitement for the day is actually the thing that gets me out of the bed. Like, I never know what my day is gonna look like, and that's always been a thing. Like, even when I was a professor back at SUNY New Paltz, like, or just like a student, like, there's always potential in the day. You just never know. Like, I'll give you a really good example. Like, today, I woke up, got here, checked my email, and found like a friend of mine who now works for Disney wants to connect me with some folk at Disney, and so I'm like, I don't know what that means. I don't know, like, if I'll end up doing anything with Disney, but the whole point is now there's this whole new potential on the horizon. Although I have questions about Disney, I will take that Disney check. Please and thank you.
I love that. What takes up the majority of your time?
Emails. And reading budgets. And meetings. All of those combined, sometimes at the same time. At the very same time.
And how do you wind down after a hectic day?
Honestly, I'm almost a little embarrassed to say this. So my secret pleasure are really dumb videos on YouTube. And so usually when I go home, I will like hang out with my dogs, I'll hang out with my hubby for a little bit, and then I will like put on my pajamas, get into bed, and then watch really dumb stuff on YouTube.
And then
Charlotte Tilbury is a good one.
How do you deal with stress?
How do I deal with stress? That's really interesting that you asked that, because I feel like, unfortunately, it takes a lot for me to manage stress, because stress tends to manifest physically in my body. And so sometimes I don't realize I'm stressed until like something silly happens. Like, I stand up and like all of a sudden I throw my back out. And it's weird because you're like, I just stood up. I didn't do anything to throw my back out. But then I realized later on that was like the universe telling me that I needed to just like have several seats and just rest. And I find that usually the universe has a habit of doing that to me when I need to like just breathe for a minute. But usually, especially here, I use the balcony that I have to go get some fresh air. Janie, the most awesome executive assistant ever, will go grab some water, make me go take a walk, things like that. So, yeah. Usually, sometimes other people forcing me to break.
And then if you had a full day off, what would you do with it?
Oh, garden. Sticking my hands right in that dirt. Like, there's something so fulfilling and grounding about putting a seed in the ground, watching it grow, and then, like, reaping the beauty that comes from it. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite dramaturgy gig?
As in, like, a regular gig, or just, like, a show, or a collaborator? I know, that's a lot.
Maybe show or gig?
My favorite thing, I'll go with, like, any show that I get to work with Ron O.J. Parson on, who's a Chicago-based director, is actually one of my favorites. Like, because he just has this way of creating, like, I'm a very firm believer that places you work, like, you're not family with people you work with, because it's work, and there are boundaries and lines and things like that. Not for any other reason besides the fact that, like, when there's power dynamics and exchange of money, like, you have to be aware of, like, how that affects the way things work in a room. But he somehow manages to, like, always make me question my belief in that because of the way that he will create space and make rooms feel very friendly and inviting and welcoming.
And then do you have any favorite projects that you've worked on recently?
So right now I am working with one of my favorite writers named Angelica Cherie. She is writing the definitive Maya Angelou biography play, and that's been a lot of fun. I've also been working on, like, right now I'm working on Trouble in Mind at Timeline, but I'm also going to do Tony Stone, both those with Ron, so there you go. So, like, anything. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I'm working on right now is just a lot of fun.
And then you've already just mentioned a few theaters, but you've also worked at many more over the past 10 years. What have you learned about being a theater maker?
That one of the most important things you can do is figure out what are your values and your morals in a profession that sometimes will test those boundaries. And I've learned what I will and will not put up with, and I've stuck to it.
And who do you admire most in the theater community?
Ever?
Yeah.
Ooh. I know that sounds a little weird to say because I've said his name a million times, but probably Ron. And part of the reason why is that he has made an entire career of just being true to who he is. And that's admirable.
Another question concerning theater. How have you seen the theater community change since you first entered it?
It's a lot better than it used to be in terms of like just access and thinking about like what are the sort of depth and breadth of stories that need to be on stage. And so I'm very appreciative of that because, you know, when I was in undergrad, like a lot of the things I was reading, like the only thing that I read that wasn't by white people was August Wilson. And, you know, that's, you know, the thing that's always weird about higher ed and like education generally is that you teach the things that were taught to you. So, you know, for me, it was a very active breaking out of what people had, like what and how people had taught me things in order to say, no, actually we need to look at other things. And so, yeah, that's what's changed. I like that.
Is there anything that you desperately think needs to change in the theater community?
Oh, totally. I mean, we need to have better like standards in terms of how we treat one another, like pay equity. I mean, this list can go on. Like, how much time you got? We could talk about just like how there's still a lot of challenges in terms of like just making sure that we don't look at season planning like it's pie. Like, it's always so weird to me how people are like, you know, I think I actively resist the notion of checking boxes and actively like bring in the idea of like we owe our audiences and we owe our students to really make sure that we are like thinking about the depth and the breadth of humanity in the plays we teach, that we show, that are on the, you know, on stage, all that stuff. That was a lot. You didn't ask for all that.
And then going back to a similar question, what is one thing you think desperately needs to change in this school?
That's a loaded question. I think we should definitely think about culture. One of the things that I'm actively, back to the things I'm talking about, just even that list, like I think we unintentionally run people into the ground and we burn people out. And I want to think better about like how do we lift people up and how do we teach people to have a sustained career. And it's hard to do that if we burn them out just at the top.
Yeah.
Like you come out the gate tired. What does that mean for the rest of your career?
And then, can you finish the sentence for me? Theater of the future looks like
us.
Going back again to a bit more of your past, how did you get into theater?
Oh, my mom thought I had way too much energy and not a constructive place to put it. Cameo by Glenn.
What was that? Sorry.
No, you're totally
In fact, my ears blocked up.
I
I just
love
said
it.
that. I like your drum.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Glenn.
And then, would you consider yourself a former or current theater kid?
Current. There's a lot of that still in me.
Did you have any nicknames growing up?
Teeny. This one's really embarrassing, but Teen Tong. I don't even know where that came from. I know where it came from. My grandfather. I don't know what made him decide to start calling me that, but that was kind of it is both cute and obnoxious. Teeny. But basically any riff off of the teen part, Martine.
Would you be willing to describe you as a child in 3 words?
Too much energy.
How about 3 words to describe you now?
Too much energy.
And if you weren't in theater, what would you see yourself doing now?
An entertainment lawyer.
Can you share a memory from one of your favorite projects?
So it's not quite a project, but when I was in my PhD program, I actually got a chance to hang out with Woody King Jr., who is an amazing, like if you don't know who he is, just Google him, like right now. But like an icon in Black theater. And basically my job was he had come to University of Wisconsin-Madison to direct a show, and my job essentially was to like just take him wherever he needed to go. And I learned so much about the industry and like all the things you can go through, like just all the things from just spending time in the car with him. I learned probably more in those short trips than I did probably my entire time in my PhD program, which is saying a lot.
And then, do you have any crazy experiences in the rehearsal room?
Oh, I mean, like the time I got kicked out of a rehearsal room, like that was fun. The short version of that, is I was working with a director that didn't really know how to work with dramaturgs and was like kind of annoyed that I was doing my job, and basically actually threw like a whole temper tantrum, like a grown man temper tantrum, which was kind of hilarious and actually really sad at the same time. And basically like sat in his chair, folded his arms, and said that he was not doing, and I quote, shit else, end quote, until I left his rehearsal hall.
On a probably lesser degree, how do you deal with conflict in the rehearsal room?
I mean, generally, I think my response to conflict in rehearsal is my response to conflict always, which is just trying to figure out what the root of it is. So, like, I will dramaturg the mess out of a conflict, and then I will ask lots of questions and figure out what's at the heart of it and try to figure out what the middle ground or the resolution on that is. We can go this way so we can get out of their hair.
All right. And then, who's your favorite person in the world to run into and why?
My favorite person? Like in this building?
Anyone.
To be honest, my friend that called me, like, I don't know if I adore Ken Goldstein. He's actually part of the reason why I'm still in higher ed. And what I mean by that is there was a time when, as I slide this over, there was a time, hi Dollar. There was a time when I was really sort of doubting whether or not this was the place for me. I was feeling like space had not been made for an educator like me. And I was really just like, what am I doing? Should I just like give up the ghost and like just pack up my toys and go home? And he helped restore my faith in what higher ed can be when you have people who are working together towards a common goal, which is to create a better and more just and more equitable theater community.
Is there anyone?
Look at you with your Delta jacket on. My apologies that you're stuck watching us talk.
No, I love it.
Okay, well, the next question is, who is someone that is blowing your mind right now with the work that they do?
Blowing my mind. That's a hard question just because like different people blow my mind for different reasons. Go ahead. I'll see you later this week. With the work that they do, like for example, I love Amritha Ramanan, who is the director of New Play Works at the Public, just because she's just a brilliant mind. She has such a good eye for storytelling. So I love her. Who else do I love? Michael Road is just one of my favorite people in the entire wide world. So one of the things that I think is an important thing that art can and should do is really think about how it can change our society and make us think differently about all of the systems around us. And he does a lot of work in civic imagination and really thinking about how can we, as artists, like use the tools and techniques of art making and place making to really affect society. And like, I just adore him for that. Like, I mean, that I could be like, I don't even know what I could be doing. I could be like in a vat of my favorite candy, and he called me and tell me that he wants me to come do something, and I get right on out and like go head out there. So there's that.
Is there any playwright, dead or alive, that you would want to meet?
Dead? I mean, it's weird to ask that question. I'm gonna go with dead just because, like, because I'm a dramaturg and because of the circles I run in, most playwrights that are alive that I want to meet, I've already met. Dead. I know this is gonna sound a little trite, but so one of the things that you may not know about me is that I'm really interested in the use of violence on stage in the theater. And so one of the places that my brain automatically goes, but for a different reason than you would expect, is Shakespeare. Because I just want to know, what was he thinking when he wrote Titus? I just want to know. Like, dude, because I love Titus. It's actually one of my favorite Shakespearean plays because it has the sickest burn of all of Shakespearedom in it. But I'm not going to tell you what it is because it's going to force you to read the play and find it. But I just want to know, what are you thinking? What are you thinking, homie?
And any other favorite plays?
Favorite plays? There's so come back in my office. Come back in my office because we'll turn on some lights so you can see. Okay, so I'm really interested in a lot of Asian drama for different reasons, and so for example, I love XXX is a good one, and Hot Pepper, Air Conditioner and the Farewell Speech by Okada is another one that I love. Other plays that I love, The Brother Size by Tarov McCraney, and I'm not just saying that because he's an alum. It's just I'm gonna own that plays that really delve into spirituality and and really think about gods and goddesses in really interesting ways and their effect on humanity. It's just fascinating to me. Who else am I thinking? I love Lauren Gunderson's work. And I'm not just saying that because I collaborate with her. I just love her. Same thing with Yvonne Nolan, great Indigenous writer from Canada. So yeah.
Is there any plays that you never get tired of seeing?
Tired of seeing? Ooh, that's a rough one. Mostly because I'm gonna own I do get tired of seeing things. I could never work on another Tempest again and be okay. But I do it anyway because yeah, it's Tempest. I don't know if I have a good answer to that question. We're gonna skip.
All right. You just mentioned Tempest, but do you think there's any plays that are overdone?
Tempest, Romeo and Juliet, most Shakespeare's that you know of. I think if you're gonna do one of the lesser known ones, like Titus, like Coriolanus, Winter's Tale, Antony and Cleopatra. You said, what was the question? I went on a Shakespeare rant.
No, it's which play do you think is overdone?
Yeah, Shakespeare.
And
a lot of Tennessee Williams.
Is there any plays that you wish you had written?
Plays I wish I had written? No, but that's mostly because I really actually just like being a dramaturg. I just want to help other people create their stories and their narratives. I don't know if I've written a couple plays, you'll see over there. I wrote the adaptation for Long Way Down that premiered at the Kennedy Center back in 2018, based off the Jason Reynolds novel. But I don't know, I just get more joy out of helping playwrights write their plays as opposed to wanting to write my own.
Is there any plays that you want to direct it?
That I want to direct? Definitely Titus. I'm ridiculously obsessed with that play. Other plays, I don't know. It's weird because I direct sometimes, but to be honest, I really would just live my ultimate happiest life, but to spend my days dramaturging things. I just don't think about it too often. When it presents itself, I do. But
and that leads into our next question. Do you have a favorite play that you've directed?
Favorite play? That one. And not because I find it hilarious that Ike Holter is also an alum, but I think it's just because the cast that I had was so much fun, and we were in a really interestingly intimate space. We had done some really inventive things with the set and really thinking about the set relationship to audience, things like that. So it was just a lot of fun.
Do you have a favorite play that you dramaturged?
The Catastrophist, which is a Lauren Gunderson play. The reason why I like that one so much is one, it felt super relevant that we were like creating that during the pandemic. But it also got to the heart of, I think, the thing that was really on my mind and on my heart at the time, which was really thinking about, I feel like when you're in a pandemic, it's hard to escape mortality. Like, even if you don't think you're gonna die, the fact that you know that there are people dying around you in some way, shape, or form puts your entire life into perspective. And when you really start to think about, like, what are the things one could have done differently? Because one of the things that was so striking to me about The Catastrophist is that you have this main character who has spent his entire life trying to save people from pandemics, and has spent so much time doing that he did it at basically at the expense of his own health, and finds himself like, you know, I'm not going to give it away, but you just find out at the end that like what's happening to him is part of a medical procedure. And so I think it really just put into perspective all of the things that people have been talking about during the pandemic, which is, are all these things that we're doing in the name of capitalism worth it? And, you know, I think the answer is no, not really. I just realized that this is falling over. So I'm going to fix this while we're talking, because the Nightmare Before Christmas requires more do than falling over. Okay. Yes.
All right. Next question. What does dramaturgy mean to you?
It means like storytelling at its purest and its core. And what I mean by that is, you know, my job as a dramaturg and like acts of dramaturgy are all in service of the story. So yeah.
Is there something that you think people often get wrong about dramaturgy?
Yeah. Number one, that we're research monkeys. That's not it. It's really not it. Like, it actually drives me a little bonkers sometimes when people are like, think that all that we're supposed to do is go look up some stuff. I'm like, dramaturgy is not me Googling for you. But I think the main thing that people get wrong is that they don't realize dramaturgs are artists. What we do requires skill and craft, and those are things that have to be cultivated over time.
And how have you used your skills as a dramaturg as a dean? And have you been handy?
Like, always. Like, number one, you should always be committing acts of dramaturgy, like, first and foremost. But in that, I think the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of truth, questioning why we're doing things the way we're doing things for no other reason than just to discover if there's a better way to do it, all that stuff, every day. Yep. Basically, I dramaturg this entire building every day, all day long.
What is the most important quality in a dramaturg?
The ability to separate your personal aesthetics from what is in service of the story. I've dramaturg stuff I don't like, but how I personally feel about it is irrelevant. What is true and what my job is to make sure I'm helping the people in the room or helping that playwright tell the best story they can write or present.
And what is the most important element to any dramaturg practice? Or dramaturgy practice, excuse me.
I think it's a combination of empathy and knowledge / structure.
All right. What is the most important thing in life to you?
Making sure that I'm doing right by people. I think I've already said that as the answer to something else, but like that's the most important thing. And I recognize that doing right by people sometimes means that people don't understand in the moment why one is making a choice that they're making, but hopefully in the long term they understand it.
And who do you rely on the most?
Can it be a what?
Sure.
And the reason why I say what is because I feel like it's like my family.
Flipping the question, who would you want to ask 73 questions to?
Dun dun dun.
That's a good question. Mostly because I just, most of the time when I meet people, I just plow them with like a million questions anyway. So, who I want to ask?
Can it be a fictional character?
Sure.
I want to ask questions to Dora the Explorer.
I love that.
It's true.
All right. Going back.
Like, like one of the questions I would totally ask her right away is like, do you realize you were having a full-blown conversation with a monkey? How's that working out for you? Just stuff like that. I'm so silly. I'm so sorry.
Okay. We're almost there. Question 72. What is something that people realize or don't realize that you do as the dean?
Death by meeting? No, they probably figure I'm in. That's probably something that people realize. I think maybe just how much of my day is spent managing people.
All right. 73rd question. Woo! What impact do you want to have on this school?
I am interested in, I guess if one was going to call it like legacy, for example, like my legacy being that I helped move us towards like the 21st, the real answer of what is 21st century theater conservatory training. That we've discovered it and then we've moved towards it.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for all your amazing and lovely answers.
I mean, you don't have to lie to me about my answers, but I appreciate it.
No, they were great. It was fun.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you so much.
You're
This is the Grappler 73 Questions with Martine. Yay!
Yay.